Good evening, everybody. My name is Phil Ledgard. I'm the Group Finance Director for Staffline Group PLC. Some of you may know the name Andy Hogarth, who's our Group CEO. He's taking a well-deserved and very rare BlackBerry-free fortnight's holiday in the Maldives, so I shout that with glee. It gives me a nice quiet couple of weeks, and also gives me the opportunity myself to come and talk to you about Staffline, the group, who we are, what we do, how we're growing, and hopefully convey a little bit about our belief that Staffline's role in the economy is an important one, and it's one that we are very passionate about. So, I'll go in that way. Give you a quick brief overview, first of all, before I go into the three divisions in a little bit more detail about how we're structured, as I think that gives a good way into telling you about what we actually do. I was going to give you a brief history at this point, but I know that that's in the packs you've got, so I won't do that. But just to draw out the key aspects of what our recruitment business is, which is the heritage of where the group has grown from over the years, is a blue-collar, largely unskilled temporary workforce provider. I've got a list of some customers in it that you can see that. And one aspect that I wanted to draw out at this point was the key difference between our on-site model and perhaps a more largely recognised branch model that perhaps one would associate with recruitment companies. On-site being a model that we started back in 2002, 2003, it was an initiative that Andy brought to the market, whereby rather than having fairly high fixed overheads and a estate around the UK with branches, and you always got a tendency with the recruitment business then that your consultants walk off both with your clients and your customers at that point, and you thought that was all a little bit silly, and therefore why not have a much more sticky model and be on site, thus the name, with your customers, living and breathing their daily resourcing needs, and having that relentless service desire to make sure that on a daily basis you knew what they needed and you were living and breathing that and making sure that you were delivering that as well. To the extent that now, on a weekly basis, we have around about 33,000 temporary workers out there on a daily basis across the UK. We are on around about 212 on-sites at the moment, at about 270 locations across the UK, across our divisions. And since the launch of our Burst a Billion strategy a couple of years ago, which I'll come back on to, we have a number of new business models now, including Driving Plus and Agriculture Plus and Select, which is a franchising network across the UK that aims more at the permanent recruitment side of that. Our second division is Welfare to Work. So in 2011, the group acquired a business called 4-Star Training, which quickly won one of the first generation of the outsourcing in work programme. We rebranded it EOS, and that contract went live in 2011. EOS has been our work programme contract since then, up until, as Hannah briefly mentioned then, we did an acquisition earlier this year of a group called Avanta Enterprise Limited, which had 3 other work programme contracts, prime contracts. We now have 4, that makes us a top 3 provider in the UK. And our contracts areas, as that map shows, are in the northwest, northeast, West Midlands and southeast, and that gives us a very handy geographic overlap now with where our recruitment business is, and there is scalability there which we're beginning to drive out and increase our profitability. Avanta also brought with it a trial contract in Saudi Arabia. So out there, I won't spend too much time on Saudi Arabia, but largely in the north and the south, we're operating a trial contract which in essence looks a bit like a job centre plus out in Saudi Arabia, which is helping their local population back into work. And our third division is our what we call training and incubation. This is really the third capability that we want to grow more in the group, linked with that motif that we have with our brand of people, skills and jobs, is the skills and training aspect. So we really feel that we're well set now to access large numbers of people that want to work, get them ready for work, prepare them for work, keep them out, train them for work, and then link them through with the nationwide large employer relationships that we have in the UK now. And that skills and training feature is something that we're going to be concentrating hard on over the next few years. And in addition to that, the group's been a very entrepreneurial business over the years, and we carry on being such. Recently, you may have heard about the probation outsourcing opportunity that's coming from the MOJ. It's Chris Grayling's big project that he wants to achieve before the next election. We were one of 13 outsourcing specialist providers that went through the PQQ for that, and recently the bid for the MOJ probation outsourcing contract has gone in. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit, but that's a big opportunity for us going forward. And I can also tell you a little bit more shortly about the Ipswich Youth Guarantee trial, which is also looking good for us. So just to do a little bit more on recruitment, because it's actually a division which we often undersell, because it's a lot easier to talk in an energetic way, if you like, around the work programme and welfare piece. But our historic piece is recruitment. Historically, we've been in 3 sectors: food distribution, but food-related distribution, and manufacturing. That's been quite important. It gave us quite a lot of resilience through the economic downturn. Obviously, as people potentially switch what they're eating, it doesn't mean to say that they eat less. So there is always large volumes flowing through the large distribution centres which we serve. And also our people are involved in the preparation of food as well. So just to give you a sense of what it is our people are doing, imagine in your mind a large Tesco distribution centre. Tesco's will typically hold about a 70% employment population for that centre. And then what we will do on a daily basis is give them the flexibility to scale up the number of employees that they will have on a distribution site on a daily basis. And thus, if we're on site, we're sitting in on their planning meetings, and then we have sufficient quantity, basically, of temporary workers on our books that we can switch on and off on a daily basis. So some numbers to do with the recruitment services. You can obviously read these, but as I mentioned, we're currently peaking about 33,000 employees each week. That means that our systems to do with vetting those people are crucial. So we vet around about 2,500 people each week, checking that they're eligible to work in the UK. And then when we get them ready for work, we will be making sure that they are trained, they have uniforms, there's proper health and safety background, and then we will manage those people on site as well. And in a number of cases, in most cases, we take a lot of pride in the productivity of our people, which often compares very, very well with the permanent employees working on the sites there as well. Just making the point that it's a highly scalable model. That on-site does mean that we can keep our fixed overheads and our capex requirements down. To give you another set of customer names, and also just to make the point that we've carried on growing very nicely in the first half of this year. Some of our new sites, we've moved into agriculture, and that really is literally having on sites in the fields around the UK, so picking everything from spring onions to strawberries to daffodils depending on the season. That's a marketplace which is really ripe for the high compliance aspect of Staffline as well, which is another key theme that we bring. We look after the reputation of our clients. That vetting aspect, that compliance with the Gangmaster licensing authority requirements is also very dear to us. Driving Plus, so a little known fact is there's not enough HGV drivers in the UK, and the new licensing laws that are just kicking in for them mean that we're expecting that the ageing population of HGV drivers in the UK may well actually start exiting that market. It's a key capability that we're growing to have a good database of those drivers, making sure that we can meet customer demands on that one as well. So a little bit more about welfare to work and training. The welfare to work contracts then they're actually 5-year-long contracts that mature in March 2016, so for the next year or two, we're waiting to see what the next generation of work programme contract will look like. There are other aspects that we use our welfare facilities for. European social fund contracts are to do with working with harder to reach people to get them to in the employment market. So it's to do with social mobility, it's to do with families that have got multi-generational non-working cultures and breaking those cultures. And as I mentioned before, the Avanto acquisition now gives us the geographic density whereby we have the jobs across that recruitment portfolio that we've got, and now we are able to work with the long-term unemployed numbers that come into our welfare to work division and match the two together, and therefore that builds up the financial synergies that are there as well. Now, what I'd like to quickly do at this point is just play you a brief video which will do a much more effective job than I will in explaining what our welfare to work view.
Meet Wayne. Wayne was one of the scores of long-term unemployed people referred to EOS every week by Job Centre Plus. EOS is a prime provider of the government's work programme designed to help people just like Wayne back into the workplace. But let him tell you his own story.
6 months ago I was living on sofas, in between houses. I even spent a spell in a tent. I just used to sit around houses doing nothing, wanting to play computer games really. Come on, ever gonna get a job, I'm not gonna do nothing with my life. Like I was always on a low in it sort of thing.
Following an initial assessment by a specialist advisor, customers are provided with an action plan, a set of goals and objectives that must be met in readiness for their return to work.
Bit of like office work, sales. I've had a few experience in it before. I lost my work shirt and tie kind of thing. I'm Carl. I was unemployed for a year, and Job Centre referred me to EOS. While being here, they've helped me build my confidence, strengthened me, helped me look for work, and eventually got me into work. I'm now a telesales.
Customers are assigned a work broker who monitors progress and supports customers with their applications for job vacancies and their preparation for interviews.
Have you done office work before?
I've had some work experience, but no real employment job. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Before EOS, I was a student. I was obviously unemployed, and I was referred here through the job centre. I didn't really know what to expect, but once coming here I realised the vast opportunities they provide, and I was successful in reaching a job.
The programme requires EOS to address individual needs, provide tailored assessments, support, retraining and work experience to ensure each of its customers has the best possible chance of securing a job, whilst giving prospective employers a choice of quality candidates ready and able to fill sustainable vacancies.
So how long have you been coming here for?
About 3 weeks now. Yeah, it's like coming to college every day.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it you're doing?
Doing work experience in the practical office. So that's not what I want to do.
My name's Samantha. I've been referred to EOS. I was unemployed for 6 months. It's helped me build my confidence a lot, and through that I've got a job as a receptionist.
EOS delivers the work programme on behalf of the Department for Work and Pensions through 6 employment centres strategically located across Birmingham and the Black Country. Each centre provides job search facilities, fast track to employment training and in-work support.
I was at Job Centre and I got referred to EOS, and then as I come here they said, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to gym, catering, reception and all the rest of it? So I said I wanted to do warehouse, which is my work. And so I went into warehouse, and that's when the company down the road brought some work up, and that's when I done some work up here for EOS, and then they actually took me on after that.
4 of the centres also house comprehensive training facilities which operated in conjunction with host employers and supply chain partners to provide structured hands-on training and work experience in a diverse range of vocational skills. The primary purpose being to ensure that EOS customers are more competitive in today's labour market.
I'm enjoying it a lot. It's building confidence each day. and hopefully in a couple of years I can be sitting on the other side of the desk interviewing people. That's what I'd like to see myself.
Really helped me is build my confidence. All my friends tell me to stop talking all the time now.
It actually helped me get a job. I was homeless as well, and they've helped me get a flat. It set up the email, let me use the phones, and I phone up every other week and so see how I'm getting on and stuff.
Ryan's worked really well and hard, and his hard work has took off, and it just proves there is jobs there if you put that little bit of effort in.
It's just a case of progression really, so one step at a time, and once the opportunity comes, I just take it, hopefully.
Hopefully I do see myself as doing advising for people that are unemployed, because I've been there myself.
I wouldn't have found the job I'm in currently if it wasn't for us.
I feel like everything's come back into one place, and it's like I had nothing, and now I've got everything again. I was seeing one of my mates a few weeks ago, and he was like, "What are you up to?" And I said, "I've got a house and a job," and he's like, "Why are you going up in the world, are you?" Not till then I actually thought I have, and things have certainly worked out for me.
And me too.
Me too.
And me.
Me too.
And me.
Me too.
And me.
And me too.
Down to.
Come on. So, I hope that's slightly more effective than me talking about it. It makes a real difference. That's the point. This gets long-term unemployed people back into work and sorts out all the various issues and barriers that are there for them, and at the same time enables us to make a profit, makes a good margin for us, which is good from all our point of view, from a stakeholder's point of view. We also do find that our stakeholders don't just appreciate the margins that we're able to make on what is a payment by results contract, but actually appreciate the fact that it is actually doing some good in society as well. And I won't go through this slide in particular detail. This was really just to make the point that it is a payments by results contract, and actually we don't get paid unless we are getting people into sustainable work, and by that we mean they're in a job for 6 months. And beyond. So, and from that point of view, for every £1 that the government pays us, once we've got someone into that contract, we save the welfare bill around about £3 to £5, depending on the circumstances. So theoretically, in that payment by results piece, everyone, all the various stakeholders win, which is why we do believe in it and as passionate as we do. Also why we wanted to grow and have more of this within the group. You'll see in the back of your pack some of the appendices show that this welfare segment is more profitable than the slightly more commoditised recruitment piece, and therefore that's an obvious reason why we want more of it. Therefore we bought Avanza with its 3 prime contracts earlier this year. That puts us in a very strong position for the next generation of work programme. I won't read all of these aspects out, but needless to say it was earnings enhancing from day one. We raised money on AIM very successfully for it at a premium, as Alex mentioned earlier on, and we could have raised 2 or 3 times actually what we needed for that acquisition. Therefore we know we have resources available in the future for doing other acquisitions as and when we find the right opportunity. Again, if you've any questions on this one, I can take it afterwards, but we're now actively involved, therefore, in a process of looking more at government outsourcing in terms of the government, in terms of contracts. So we recently won Northern Ireland Steps to Success, which is the work programme in Northern Ireland for Derry, the area, the North area. I mentioned the MOJ rehabilitation contract. We hear about that in November. That's potentially a very sizable piece of business for us. If we win well there, that can be a brand new division in its own right. We're still waiting on Job Path, which is again is like a job centre path piece for the Southern Ireland. We should hear about that any day now. Hopefully we feel confident about that. Suffolk Council contract at the bottom, it's a relatively small one, and because of that it's not too price sensitive, and therefore I can say that we have actually won that, and we're in the process of mobilising that, and we'll have a formal announcement on that over the next week or so. So we are winning off the back of that solid position with work programme. It does give us the credibility now to win more outsourcing work in the sector that we are in. Just looking ahead at what is our growth target, our overall strategy is burst £1 billion. So we're about halfway there. Our various analysts all come out at around about £500 million revenue this year. We want to double that over the next 3 or 4 years. And importantly, fine, revenue's nice, but profit is what we're after, and we want to drive that up towards £40 million by 2017. And everyone goes, that's a fine task, but how are you going to do that? And do we really believe you're going to do that? And our strategy is we have already 10 business units up and running, driving ourselves towards that. I won't take you through each one because of time, but again, happy to do so afterwards and have a read of them. On the whole, the 10 business units are starting very well. There's 1 or 2 that are starting a bit slower, but when we added, when one adds the overall profit potential of the 10 businesses together, they actually add up to a sizable piece higher than the 40 million. So we do have scope for 1 or 2 of them to go a bit slower over time. So we are very confident that we will achieve that £40 million number by 2017. Our 2014 half-1 highlights are there. All the profits figures were up by about 30%. We boosted dividend by 30% in line with that as well. We're on track in the second half of the year to deliver all the various forecasts that are out there for us at the moment. Just to make the point that yes, Avanta was a big acquisition that we made this year, but as I mentioned, we still have resources available to go after more acquisitions. We're continually looking at them, particularly in that skills and training arena in order to boost that aspect of the business. As Hannah said, our share price has done very well since 2004. It's doubled in the last year. It was about £4.50 around about May 2013. We're around about the £9 marker at the moment, and you can do sums, but if we do deliver that 40, or when we deliver that £40 million, if the ratio stay round about where they are, then we can expect another doubling of that share price over the next 3 or 4 years. So hopefully that therefore leaves you with a strong impression that when we also talk to our institutional investors as well, they like the idea that this is a growth stock. We've delivered on our promises to date, and have every intention of doing so again into the future. And at the same time, we can have that growth stock, make the returns on it, and do some good in the marketplaces that we're in at the same time.